The day had finally arrived. After months of letters, preparations, negotiations, and anticipation, the kingdom of Tyre stood ready to host what many were already calling the greatest wedding in the history of the Eastland. Roads that had once carried merchants and travelers now welcomed kings, queens, nobles, generals, and dignitaries from every corner of the known lands. Colorful banners bearing the symbols of Tyre and Sigred fluttered proudly from towers and walls. Musicians filled the streets with songs of celebration. Markets overflowed with goods from distant kingdoms. Everywhere one looked, there was movement, excitement, and wonder. It was as if the entire kingdom had transformed itself into a living festival. King Aaron spared no effort. Every detail had received his attention. He understood that this was more than the marriage of Prince Rondell and Lady Gabriella. It was a demonstration of Tyre's strength, wealth, stability, and influence. The guest quarters had been expanded, noble halls had been renovated, hundreds of servants had been assigned to attend to visiting dignitaries. Even the roads leading to the capital had been repaired weeks beforehand to ensure every visitor arrived comfortably. Aaron wanted every ruler who stepped into Tyre to leave with a single thought in their minds, that Tyre was no longer a small kingdom struggling to survive among larger powers. It was becoming something far greater. The first delegations arrived under heavy escort, followed by nobles and merchants from distant regions. Then came the rulers themselves. King Dalot arrived from Sigred with his daughter Gabriella and a grand procession worthy of his station. Not long after came Queen Senyl of the Salt Isle, whose presence drew much admiration wherever she passed. Her beauty, grace, and calm demeanor had long become subjects of admiration throughout the Eastland, and many nobles found themselves whispering respectfully as she entered the city. The arrival that surprised many, however, was that of King Edwin and Queen Malesa of Hilltops. Their journey from the mountains had been long, but they had answered Aaron's invitation with honor. Yet their attendance carried a purpose beyond celebration. It had been Queen Malesa herself who insisted that Paraton accompany their delegation. Edwin initially questioned the necessity. After all, Paraton's duties concerned trade, and this was a wedding. But Malesa remained firm. She gave no public explanation, only reminding her husband that a trusted servant should have no reason to refuse an invitation of such importance. Edwin eventually agreed. Thus, Paraton traveled with the Hilltops delegation, unaware that the Queen's eyes never seemed to drift far from him. Even amidst celebration, her suspicions remained alive. As each delegation entered Tyre, Aaron personally received them. He greeted every ruler with warmth and dignity, ensuring no guest felt overlooked. The king moved tirelessly from gathering to gathering, speaking with nobles, welcoming foreign dignitaries, and seeing that every arrangement proceeded smoothly. Many who had once underestimated him began to view him differently. They saw not merely a king of a small kingdom, but a capable ruler whose vision extended far beyond his borders. Even Edwin, who had long considered Tyre a lesser state compared to Hilltops, found himself impressed by the organization and grandeur before him. For several days before the wedding itself, the city remained alive with feasts, tournaments, performances, and celebrations. Friendships were renewed, alliances strengthened, new conversations began in private halls and public gardens. Yet among all the activity, no meeting drew more attention than the first encounter between the bride and groom. Prince Rondell had heard much about Gabriella. He knew of her intelligence, her kindness, and the noble blood she carried. But hearing and seeing were different things. When they finally stood before one another, something unexpected happened. The nervousness both had carried seemed to disappear almost instantly. There was no awkwardness, no forced politeness, no struggle to find words. Instead, conversation flowed naturally, as though they had somehow known one another long before that day.
Gabriella laughed easily in his company, and Rondell found himself smiling more than he had in weeks. They spoke of their kingdoms, their childhoods, their hopes, and even their fears. Hours seemed to pass like minutes. Servants who observed them quietly exchanged knowing glances. Even King Dalot noticed and felt relief settle into his heart. What had begun as a political arrangement was showing signs of becoming something far more valuable. And Aaron noticed it too. For the first time since arranging the union, he allowed himself to relax. He saw genuine affection growing between them, something no treaty or alliance could ever guarantee. The future of Tyre suddenly seemed brighter than before. Yet beneath the celebration, beneath the music, laughter, and endless feasts, other currents continued to move unseen. Queen Malesa watched Paraton carefully. Amanda watched Dalot and Senyl whenever opportunity allowed. Aaron's spies continued their work, and across the gathering of kings and queens stood individuals carrying secrets that could alter the future of the Eastland. But for now, those secrets remained hidden. For now, the banners still flew proudly. For now, the wine still flowed. For now, the Eastland celebrated together as one. And as night fell upon Tyre, illuminated by thousands of lanterns and roaring fires, many believed they were witnessing the beginning of a glorious new age. None of them yet knew that some of the greatest storms in history are born beneath the brightest celebrations.